Tervehdys, Laura.
Terve, Otto.
How are you today?
I'm quite okay. I'm actually quite excited. Today is the best evening of the month ahead.
Yes, our dear beloved heritage sauna evening, which is organized once a month.
Yes, once a month we organize a sauna ceremony evening open to the public. Most of our sessions are private, so this is a very unique chance for anybody can just book a spot on these sessions, and we offer a chance to experience the yearly cycle through the experience of sauna rituals and treatments.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I've attended many times, and it's truly. Many people say that after this session you feel almost reborn, and that certainly is the feeling that I have gotten from these ceremonies that we organize.
Yeah. And also feedback has been often that we live in a world that is very isolated from the yearly cycle. Many times when it's the darkest winter, we try to be very active, and in the summertime we just lie down and do nothing, and it is a little bit against nature. So the feedback has also been that it was nice to actually be given a permission to adjust yourself with the nature with this ceremony, and it helps to sort of balance yourself with what is going on in your surroundings.
Yeah, it's definitely in the core of this cyclical worldview that we have been talking about, and now it's nice that we had 2 episodes on the worldview of the ancients and sauna culture. Now we can talk about how fundamentally skewed our relationship with sauna is. But just to mention, I always forget this, but this is our Spirit of Sauna podcast. In this podcast, we delve deep into these topics related to sauna culture, the history of sauna, mythology of sauna, and many, many more topics. And this ceremony that you're holding tonight, we want to share this knowledge with others. And our sauna healer training is exactly for this reason. So whether you are a sauna keeper, or that you have your own sauna, public sauna, or you have your private sauna and you want to make it like more of a meaningful, have a deep connection with the sauna, then this sauna healer training is for you. And also if you're just interested in finding out what are we here in the cold north doing with this practice of sauna, then you can just head to saunahealer.com, and that's our website for this training of next autumn.
And also we would love to answer any inquiries that anybody would have. Send us an email or a private message, anything.
Or call us.
Call us, yeah.
Would we love to? Actually, we would love to interact with you. If you're watching or listening to this podcast, so any questions, it's lovely that you comment to our Instagram posts and YouTube releases, and it's always wonderful to hear. And also, like, if you have some criticism or like critical viewpoints, these are very welcome. This is an ongoing process, what we're doing here. We don't claim to be the wise old sages who dictate truths. Like we will talk today about some certain Finnish people who think they know everything there is to know about sauna. Not at all. But during this process, we've gathered some really, I would say, the fundamentals of this sauna culture, ancient sauna culture. And well-versed in the modern one as well. I for one, I've studied a lot about like when we went to public saunas, and I think we will talk about this as well today.
For sure. Yeah, today the topic that we had in mind for this discussion was the concept of Finnish sauna.
Yeah.
What is the sauna of Finland?
Yeah. Well, I haven't asked this from Google in a while, but I've asked this from many foreign people, and they usually think that sort of the essence of Finnish sauna is that it's really, really hot and really, really unpleasant, dry, painful, and that it leaves you very blissful afterwards.
Yes.
But process in itself and the sort of ritual of sauna, there's nothing nice about that.
Yeah.
I was just recently listening to this podcast host, and he was saying like, I want to suffer in sauna a lot, so the rest of my day is a lot easier. And it doesn't compute with me really, this attitude. But we Finns, we have ourselves to blame.
Yes, for sure.
This is the sort of view of sauna that we have been very graciously delivering to the world.
Yeah.
Also has to do a lot with sort of the technologies around sauna. I think Finland has invented the electric heater for sauna. I just recently saw an article about I think it was over 70-year-old electric heater that still works. So, and also like these wooden saunas that we now sort of have as a gold standard, like this sort of mökki sauna, this cottage sauna. It was developed after the war when they actually wanted to first get the lices out of the clothes. So they started to have these saunas where you can heat up the whole evening. And just a few years after that, they started to experiment with these electric heaters. And this is just completely different way of approaching sauna from the ancient times.
Yeah, for sure. And I have to relate to my own personal story that is to do with sauna, because of course, growing up in Finland, you go to sauna, and that is the normality.
Yeah.
And but for me, reaching my teenage years and growing up, I felt really, distant from the sauna. I went there because it was what you do, but it wasn't really something I wanted or looked forward to. It was just you brush your teeth, you go to your sauna, and that's what you're supposed to do. And then reaching young adult age, sauna had become for me almost like something I wanted to avoid. And a lot of it was that I was also considering sauna easily that it has to be something hot and something that hot and dry and something that is a little bit stressful, maybe even. Of course, the teenage experience of your changing body and everything else gave a new layer of uncomfortability. But then the hot and dry and sort of little bit forceful way of bathing, especially in the public saunas, I tried few times, but it was just too much for me. I couldn't, even as a Finn. Okay, then when you go to your own private summer cottage and you can do the sauna as you please, then that was okay for me. But for me, I was really felt far from the public sauna culture of Finland. And this, well, at the time, I didn't feel sad about it, because I didn't see it as something very important in my life. Now it sounds absurd to say it, but for me, sauna wasn't something very important at that point. And it was only through this sauna healing treatments and sauna rituals when I realized that actually Finnish sauna also is so much more than just a hot and dry, almost suffocating, forceful experience, that I started opening my eyes to the beauty of sauna.
Yeah.
And then checking a little bit the background of sauna, I realized that it is very recent idea with this electric stoves and this change of the worldview of people. It has become to the meaning that it's a hot and dry sauna. But nowadays, when I hear people describing Finnish sauna as hot and dry, I feel almost tears coming to my
it's
eyes.
Insulting, please.
Yes, and it's sad. It's
Yeah,
sad actually, and Finns themselves describe it like
Yes,
that,
definitely,
and that is the most saddest part for me, because hot and dry is actually a very small part of what sauna can offer you. It's and when I'm saying this, I'm not saying that it's not needed sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really good to really give that sort of harsh push.
Yes, definitely.
And
at least once every session you have to have this really harsh.
And that is needed. But if that is the only thing you have, then it becomes very sad.
Yeah. I would compare it to life, really, because you can always see the positive side on anything, basically, or not anything. Some things are really tragic, so you cannot see it. So maybe you think it like I was listening to this thinker who was putting it in such a way that sometimes it's really like the grief is intense, and then it's a teacher, but otherwise you just try to turn things to see the positive side on things. And if we think about sauna like that, it should be always really hot and painful and all of this. It's like a life full of grief. Like, why would you want to go through something like that? Like sauna is like life itself. It has this really harsh side and tough side, almost like a slap in the face, kind of harsh. But it's a teacher in this way. And then you have this sort of practice of sauna. And yeah, I think I even mentioned this in one episode, that I saw this one YouTube episode with this Finnish sauna master or like world championship who had a tragic like fate. Like he almost died going to this massive, like really hot sauna, like I think it was something like 200 degrees, 170 degrees, crazy. And the co-competitor actually died in this sauna, which is just, I never realized why to do this in any way, but he still thinks it's a really nice sport. He doesn't have any grudges. I admire him as a person. But there was another YouTube couple coming to Finland, and they of course went to this guy. And again, he throws so much löyly that these people were almost dying in the sauna. It was like you could see from their face the terror. And of course, because of views and because of content, they would stay there and torture themselves really. And I happen to know, as a having a smoke sauna, that if you pour 2 scoops of water in there, it's intense for everyone. I have a sauna every day, and still I won't do it like that, because pleasure, its pleasure is in the core of the sauna practice. Like pleasure is in the core of a human life as well, more in a deeper level. Pleasure to be alive, just to enjoy this life in the same way as I would go to do a yoga practice. I want to do it through pleasure. And it has happened in yoga as well. They say, no pain, no gain, and all of this. I think it's just really wrong. It primes us to really the wrong things. It makes you almost hate going to the sauna. And it shouldn't be like that. And yeah, as I said, us Finns, we have ourselves to blame. Since the 70s, there's been this sort of official Finnish like sauna, how would I say, missionaries who have been taking foreign people like into the sauna in Finland and said, this is the real sauna, and tried to sort of put a lot of pour water and all of this. And I don't wonder that somebody who's never been to sauna goes to the first time and say, I never want to go again. So where has it been, this sort of soft side of sauna, this pleasurable side of sauna, this almost blissful side of sauna? Has it been lost really for like, I don't know, 70 years, 80 years? Have we had it?
Maybe. I'm not sure how long. Because there are different speculations you can take from that. I don't know if it has changed ever since our whole worldview started changing from organic to more mechanical, or has it changed when the people, like you said, 80 years ago, when the electric stoves came? Who knows? But the change has been very strong, and I think how long, I don't know, but it definitely does reflect the mentality of people. Like you said, be it a yoga practice, or be it eating, or be it working, whatever we do in life, we have a little bit of this mentality that we have to suffer first before we can allow ourselves to enjoy.
Yes.
And pleasure, when you were talking about it, I think it's pleasure, but not a sense gratification. Yeah. And especially not maybe instant sense gratification. Pleasure is more deeper. It's and I connect that pleasure not maybe with something being pleasurable or being soft or easy, but more of being meaningful, giving you a sense of purpose and sense of belonging.
Yeah, I guess blissful maybe
blissful
more.
Maybe,
yeah.
yes. And I actually like the word pleasurable, because, but just to little bit like make it wider as a concept. And sauna practice, like you said, it reflects a lot about life. And in Finland we are in this situation that we are so mechanically, how would you say the word?
Mechanistically?
Yes, oriented. Anyway, it's not just in Finland, it's worldwide. But if we are now thinking about the Finnish sauna, we are very mechanistically oriented. So we are interested, be it life or be it a human being or be it sauna. We are interested in the technical part of it, and we are really talented in like making the technical side of it to the top notch. But I read, I can't remember where I read that somebody said that, oh yeah, it used to be like that men would just build the sauna, and the women would start, and women would come after them, and then they would start cooking and making drinks and making massage treatments, making different types of rituals, and giving birth there, and they made the sauna what it actually is. And I feel that we have little bit gone to this stage that we just build the sauna and we forget that it includes so much more. There is like a full how would I say, different aspects of it. And even if it's just sweat bathing that we would perform there, let's leave the food making and we leave the cloth making out of it. But just the sweat bathing, we have done this, that we technically we build the sauna, but we have forgotten that that's just one half of it. The other half is the cultural, the sort of the organic side of it. That we need these both for it to be a complete sauna experience. And this I see in the Finnish sauna conversations. We are so particular about the technical, how is the air circulation, and what are the
law
measurements,
of the löyly, and all of this.
And so sort of we have taken only the other half.
And Finns don't really know about sauna that much. That's what makes me wonder. But also when I think about myself, like my sauna relationship with sauna has been a really long one. It has probably not been more than 2 months in my life. Maybe when I was in India, it was the longest stretch without a sauna. So it's always been there. But for me, it's like, how did I get to grips with the deeper meaning of sauna was through socializing in sauna. So of course, when I was studying, it was also a place to party. Like it might sound crazy, but actually a Finnish party always ends up in a sauna place where people still have the last beers of the night and go to the sauna together. And I did a lot of this. But we happened to have a really nice, like a rooftop sauna in my rental apartment where I lived for, I think, 12 years. And every Wednesday from 6 to 7, I sort of organized my life that every Wednesday from 6 to 7, I'm there. And maybe my friends, like my roommates and other people who we would invite to the sauna. And it was really nice because you could go to the balcony and see the whole Helsinki, like panoramic view. And it was nice. Just a sort of electric sauna, nothing too special, but really nice sauna. And I started to notice that I would really organize my life. Like I would have an important class every Wednesday from 4 to 7. I would say, no, I can't do it. No, just I'll do it next year or not at all. And that's where sort of I think the sort of meaningful relationship with sauna grew. That it's actually important. So sometimes I use this metaphor of sauna as a temple, because when I think about temple, and I'm always reminded of this Indian temple, which is like every house has a small temple to the deity that is important to that family or that area or so on. So it's not like it doesn't have to be like really shiny and like we have this idea of like a cathedral or something like that. That's not the point. But the point is to be there, to actually sort of consecrate the place for a certain kind of activity. And before I got this sort of metaphysical understanding of sauna and all of this that we've been also studying together since last maybe 10 years, before that I had the idea that sauna is a place for socializing. And I'm happy to see that this is sort of the direction where Finnish sauna culture is going. Like this sauna boom that is everywhere, seems to be at least, is also here. Like I remember maybe 15 years ago in Helsinki, there was 2 public saunas and they were always empty or maybe just 4 or 5 people in there. And now it's not the case. They're all full and everybody loves to go to sauna and is fully booked. Most of the saunas, most of the time. And especially for the young people, I like this idea that instead of going to the bar, you take a couple of friends and you go to the sauna. So you start the ritual by just making sauna a place of like social importance. Sort of, and also that they don't go there to drink alcohol, which is, I like it a lot. Like that people say, oh, okay, it makes me feel so horrible in the sauna. So maybe I have 1 beer or 2 beers, that's all right. But like most of them, you see just having a sparkling water in there.
Yeah.
Which I don't say that there is a place to have a sort of a party. When I have a birthday party, you dance in the sauna here, and there is a place for this as well. But also, if you think about the Indian temple, when it's Diwali party, then around the temple there's all kinds of things happening. Kids have a party, adults have a party, everything. Life happens in there. Yeah. But just thinking from this technical side, like thinking about how to like optimally heat sauna and all of this, is like thinking life like this. That nothing is like my life is all about what my Aura watch or whatever Apple Watch tells me. Ring or watch tells me what my life is about. And nobody would do it like this. Of course, it's good to know these kind of things. And I think also it's good to know about sauna architecture and all of this physics and all of this. But it certainly isn't the most important part of this ancient practice.
Yeah. And also, sometimes if you try to optimize too much according to some external standards, and I'm not now, this is not a speech that I would dismiss the research data. I'm not saying that at all, but still sometimes it's good to remember that to optimize yourself according to external data it might be statistically optimal, but maybe for you exactly on that spot it's not.
Yes.
So in the Finnish sauna culture, for me, the most beloved thing has been that everybody is their own bath master. Till very recent years, it was a very, very strange idea for any Finn to measure sauna time or measure. Okay, maybe we had the temperature measured on the wall. We had the thermometer, but other than that, we didn't practice measuring. This is a very recent event now that everybody has some ring and something we can, calculate everything. What is the optimal time to be in the sauna? What is the optimal amount of löyly and all? But till very recent years, I have loved in the Finnish sauna culture that this doesn't exist. Yeah. Everybody is their own master. You are the one who knows yourself the best. Yeah. And the Finnish sauna culture has encouraged to take responsibility of how you're feeling. Don't rely on some external minutes or some numbers that somebody else gives you. Yeah. Rely on your experience. Yes. Does this feel good for you? Is this enough for you? Yeah. Or do you need more? And this is something that I have valued in our sauna culture very much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like we sort of even like when I think about having a sauna with friends, I might just comment like, oh, today I'm going on really short cycles. That, just have one pour and then go outside, cold plunge or whatever, go inside on the one pour, and that's it. And on some days you just can't. You don't want to leave it. Like you can't leave because it's so beautifully soft löyly, and you can just lie around.
Yeah.
So definitely this, and also this external standards. It makes it a sort of achievement.
Yes.
Went to sauna today. Nice. You know, is that sort of a criteria for a nice day that you had like a really painful experience in the sauna? You started your day or ended the day there? No, of course not. And but yeah, I would say that the problem actually is just that we have so little information about sauna since tens of years or maybe hundreds of years. I don't know. It's hard to even say how much we've lost during the last centuries about this wisdom, deep wisdom about sauna, that we sort of seem to like clutch to anything that we get, like which is a piece of information. So it really does remind me of the yoga culture, like because sometimes when I listen to some yoga podcast or something like this, I notice that these people just haven't studied too much about yoga, and but they have something that they can relate to, and they really grab hold to that, and that becomes their most important aspect, and you know, almost the only aspect that they're interested in. And in sauna, it's the same thing. And if it's a country of engineers, then, you know, because you don't have any other information, then you really grab into this sort of technical side. And any one of you, dear listeners, if you're in these sauna groups, you notice that if you put a sauna picture of your sauna, there's somebody, most definitely a Finnish person, commenting, you know, your law of löyly is not here. You know, you should have your benches upper, the higher in the sauna, and all of this. And you know, it's I'm not judging here anyone, but it's I guess sad is kind of like one emotion that I would get, because I would really hope for a richer discussion about this, and also that people would be interested in studying more, and you know, sort of not going for the easiest ways to explain what sauna does. And I think the easiest way to explain sauna is something like, you get the heat shock proteins, or your nervous system reacts like this. It's really easy to explain sauna like this, but it doesn't. It doesn't even sort of get close to the essence, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, and it's a sort of reflection also of our, what we were talking earlier, of our culture and worldview, that we end up thinking that these are the easiest way and the most sort of literally true ways of explaining something. But for me, now that I have had the great fortune of heating the smoke sauna regularly, it has been a big eye-opening experience for this concept of technicality versus organicity, if I could say like that.
Yeah, it's almost like a spiritual science.
Spiritual, yes. And it's really truly about letting the spirit of sauna, letting the löyly guide you in where you should go, what you should do, what you should adjust. And I know this might be a red flag for some Finns and some not Finns dealing with sauna, but I have sort of purposely not involved myself in the measures or numbers or what I should follow. I've never measured the temperatures when I'm heating the smoke sauna.
No idea. Like might be 100 degrees, maybe more.
But I avoid it purposely, because I want to be the student and servant of the löyly.
Yeah.
And the löyly really tells you, it gives you direct feedback of what you did wrong, what you did right.
Yeah.
And especially then when you're doing the treatments or the ceremony for the people, you get really concrete, direct feedback of what is going on. And really this sort of, I've noticed that it sort of brings out the organic, or I would even say, how would I say, lively interaction, living interaction with the elements of the sauna, and it makes you, it sort of forces you to have a relationship with these elements. Like, for example, wood, firewood, something that I have not really paid attention that much before. It has been firewood for me. Yeah. But when working with the smoke sauna, you're so dependent on that wood that everything about that wood speaks to you and tells you a big story and gives you guidance. And I would even dare to say that it's the story that the wood tells you is more than the numbers could ever tell you. And because it's like you said, it's sort of the easy way out to start measuring certain things, or taking this sort of statistical data and explaining things away, because you can explain to a certain level, but then there are still in the experience there are levels that you cannot reach with these numbers. And that's where I've noticed that the learning by experience, it fills those gaps. And this is challenging topic in our modern world, because we love to be able to say everything with words. And if you cannot say it with words, it's sort of, we consider maybe it's not true, or it's sort of imagination, or it's something less of an importance. But when working with the löyly, you realize that you really, words cannot reach all. And then we enter into the when I was at some point of this conversation referring to that there would be that you build a sauna, but then what sauna is becomes when you are living the sauna. And because it's so much more than any words or technical terms can reach to. And smoke sauna is a big teacher. And I do believe that a lot of the core meaning, or the full meaning of the Finnish sauna has been lost when we abandoned our smoke sauna culture and transferred into more this electric sauna culture. Because just putting on an electric stove, it just doesn't give you the same
with
concept.
An app.
with an app, exactly. Timing it from there. It just doesn't give you that concept of what is that sauna, and the full involvement that it takes for the löyly to be.
Yeah, and with smoke sauna, it's like it is really a science, or sort of a spiritual science, because as you said, starting from the fact that you have certain kind of wood, you cannot heat the sauna with all kinds of wood. Some wood just doesn't cut it. It has to be the exactly right way of, like, dry, preferably without the skin, all of these kind of things that you only know when you start to heat it up. And still, even like after hundreds of times you heated it up, you always still have a little bit like, how did I succeed today? Is it all right? Asking people who go, and then of course going, is it all right? Is everything cool? And this is because the löyly actually sort of sometimes is really big mystery. What did we fail? Like, I remember this one time when everything was done right, but somehow the smoke is still there, because if you've never been to a smoke sauna, there is no smoke in the sauna. We pour a lot of löyly to take away all the smoke, so that it's actually really fresh to breathe, because there's no fire to take out the oxygen. But sometimes, the stones are not sort of washed away from the smoke and the soot, and then we're wondering, like, what is it? Is it because of the temperature, or like how the clouds are positioned, or what is the reason? We don't even know. And then there is this sort of feeling of surrender that I had, especially when I started here, and most of the times I was alone. There was no one. Nobody even cared, so even if I have some trouble, I have to deal with it myself. And in this kind of situations, I was like, okay, I surrender. Like, the sauna is what it is. And even if I would feel like, oh man, I fail today. But then people would come out of the sauna, oh, this is amazing. And I was like, yes, great. I didn't fail, at least according to these people. Yeah. And then sometimes this löyly can actually surprise you that, something seems to be wrong first, but then actually it goes away right away. And the löyly is just the most nourishing. And when you sort of peel away this modern culture where you have this sort of standardized certain temperature, certain time, certain this, certain that, and you sort of give the, I would say chance would be the modern expression, but maybe chance in the Roman way of fortuna, but like that there's something happening there, but you don't sort of see it, and you just let the essence of the löyly reveal itself. You're sort of a catalyst to it, but then you let go, and it is what it is after that. So it's sort of a great practice of doing your best and forgetting the result with the smoke sauna. Yes. Because then when it's heated, you cannot do anything.
Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's minus 30 degrees Celsius and you heat it up the 5 hours and still after 4 hours of having like 30 people going there, it's starting to get, the stones start to get cold. Nothing you can do about it, and that's how it is at that point. And the funny part is that löyly might be the best löyly for just a few people in the sauna, where it's almost nothing going on. It's like, oh, it's so soft and nice. So even in that situation, just let go. You let the löyly teach you what it has to teach today.
Exactly. Yeah, you like being a sauna keeper, sauna healer, sauna host, whatever you call. You are the servant and student of löyly.
Yes.
And that's just how you. That's you are your own sauna master, but at the same time you are eternal student.
Yeah.
The surrendering gives you also the chance of feeling, how would I say, that you're dependent on something. And I have noticed that our modern Finnish sauna culture, it increases your because it is very competitive easily. We want to compete. Who stays the longest? Who can take the most heat? And or who has the best sauna routine? Who goes the most regularly? But sort of surrendering to the whole process of sauna ritual, which includes also heating of the sauna and serving the clients, everything. It has taught me that this, I would say, original sauna is really all about being dependent on the löyly, on the wood, on the water, because without these basic elements, you are nothing. You can be the greatest master and have the greatest knowledge, but these basic elements of life, you are nothing without them. So you really start feeling that I'm fully dependent, but also it gives you a great sense of belonging. Like you said, sometimes it is you are alone trying to make it, but then you realize that I'm definitely not alone. I'm really fully, I belong. I have
the spirit of löyly is with me.
Definitely, and all the great big basic elements of life is all that I actually belong very deeply. And this is something that for me at least was a great change in the way I felt about sauna experience, because I wasn't doing it consciously, or I was never even analyzing or thinking about it in my teenage years, for example, but I felt everything in my life was enhancing the feeling of separation. I was doing anything, any practice, was it yoga, was it sauna, was it whatever, Ayurveda or diet, whatever it was done from the external external settings.
Yeah.
I always had some rules that I followed and techniques I followed. And I think we're now circling back to your point about the pleasure.
Yeah.
Because having to surrender, having to realize that you yourself cannot do it all, and you cannot any technique that you have can take you only so far. And it's all about just that you surrender, you realize that you actually have a very, very important part that you're playing, that as you are dependent, so are the others dependent on you.
Yeah.
If you don't heat that sauna and feed the fire with the wood, the fire will not have anything to go on with, and there will be no löyly. So, you know, the sense of meaning becomes very strong in this very basic kind of way.
Yeah.
And it has, I truly believe that many times when I've read about some archives about some like, for example, women's sauna ceremony where the very important part of it was preparing the sauna, you know, heating the sauna, cleaning it very well, preparing the waters, cleaning everything. It's like the greatest gift you can give is to prepare a sauna for someone.
Yeah, it's like and even today, like if you think about, like, you would come home and there would somebody, hey, sauna is ready for you. That's like a really gratifying thing for anyone, like in Finland.
Yeah.
Almost anyone who certainly enjoys the sauna. This is really, and that's again, I'm reminded of this temple culture, because if it's an important session, or even if it's not the most important, just your daily rituals, like in an Indian home temple, is like you notice that the house is like, it's a good house, sort of. It's a house where you get food and, you know, you are treated well. If you notice that there's somebody in the morning, you know, cleaning up the temple, putting it nice before doing some simple ritual in there. So in the same way, like, taking care of your sauna is really like part of it. Like it's also almost like an extension of your own soul. And then, you know, I also think about, because I'm not really that much of a superstitious person. Like löyly, we can also, of course, we can trace like what creates a good löyly, and we can study it and all of this. And if we want to think about this without sort of the spirit aspect, it's also possible. Then we can think about it in this way, that, you know, what do I want from this sauna session? Whether it's for myself or for customers, I want to have like a really nice löyly for the longest times. So what do I do? So my experience tells me that I do this and this and this in this order, and that will result most probably in a really nice löyly for a long time. And then it just merely comes to the point that, you know, it's almost like customer service, you know, in a sense that it's a customer service journey that starts from the fact that you wake up 9 a.m. and pick up some wood and put on the fire. Your customer service starts from there, like as a public sauna, like a keeper. So that's also another way to think about this. And also, like, having a sauna, like a public sauna, has been a practice since at least the Middle Ages, probably the Roman times, where you would have, like, all over Europe. It's the most usual profession. And then your sort of pride in your profession comes from the fact that you know these things. You know different kinds of things from your experience, and you use them to create a space for people to enjoy themselves and just socialize and have a good time.
Yeah, and also I do feel that sauna as a wider concept has been a lot to do with this idea of caring, giving care, giving treatment, giving healing, giving chance for recovery, and sort of the, be it home sauna, be it the village sauna, be it the public sauna, you are sort of facilitating the healing of another being. And it is a very amazing gift to be able to give. And this is sort of why I feel so sad when Finnish sauna is described as hot and dry and excellent technical performance, because I feel that sauna is about healing in the sense of recovering your wholeness, recovering your harmony, recovering your authentic self, sort of balancing your own self. And not just your own self, of course, when you're then offering that chance to others, giving that great gift of health to others. Falls so short to say that it's a hot, dry, technical room for pushing yourself to a certain experience.
That's right, and it's about health. Our concept of health has changed.
Yeah.
It's not about being a wholesome person so much as it is about having the right medication or whatever you need to just the absence of sickness sort of view of health that we choose as standard and then we follow that.
Yeah.
But as I don't know if I said I'm not a spiritual person. I definitely am, but superstitious. I said yes. Great. I use that word because that's exactly what I want to convey. But I think to understand life, you cannot do these technical things. You just cannot. You always end up having new problems. And thinking about when I think about the best sauna experiences of my life, I've had a sauna probably in 3 or 4 continents and several different countries, different kinds of hot rooms and sweat baths and hundreds of saunas in Finland. And when I think about the absolute best experiences, they absolutely cannot be explained by the technical details of the sauna. They just don't even scratch the surface of my experience in there. And that's the spiritual aspect. It is your own experience. You are there to witness this world. And you have this kind of healing practice where you go to feel whole, wholesome as a person. Then, you don't even remember, if there was a thermometer in the wall or whatever, you don't remember any of that. You just remember how it felt, how it made you feel. And holding into this, this is our salvation, I think. And I see that in Finland and also abroad, more and more it is turning towards the feeling. Feeling, not so much in the sauna yet, maybe in the Finnish, but after the sauna. But the socializing aspect, I notice, also comes in the sauna, that maybe you don't enjoy the intensive heat that you have because your friends are really pouring a lot, but you're with your friends.
Yeah.
And the feeling is afterwards. And we can, of course, say it's because of your heat shock proteins and your nervous system and so on and so on. But what I claim is that is sort of the löyly working through you. That feeling after sauna, what you feel, the wholesome, almost like rested, almost like after a good night's sleep, feeling of, everything is all right.
Yeah.
This is a good life.
Yes.
That is how the löyly touches you. And before that has happened many things before that is even possible. But if we want to sort of understand sauna, and listening to this podcast, I have to assume that most of you want to do that, then studying this experience, the after sauna experience, which is almost impossible to put in words. I'm struggling right now.
Yes.
And letting it inform you how this ritual is actually changing you as a person even, but at least, keeping yourself in balance and sort of building a wholesome identity.
Yeah, so it's a far cry from a hot, dry room of torture and competition. I remember we posted in our other podcasts Facebook page. There was this advertisement from the 70s of this Finnish stove maker, and I think it said something like, "A real sauna is hot as hell." And now look at our new model, which makes your sauna hot as hell. And it was like, what actually at that point sort of made me laugh and made me not cry, but later sad, was that it's 50 years ago, and it's not like it's changed too much from that, which is the shame. It is.
But of course, what we try to do here in Sipoonjoki And you will, if you ever come to our sauna, and you will go through this whole experience of being in the small forest we have here, you will probably notice that that sort of presupposition of a Finnish sauna doesn't hold here. It's not like that at all.
Yeah. And I would say that I think having discussions with Finns themselves, it has happened that the most vocal, the most sort of that reaches the public eye, and especially the international eye of the Finnish sauna is portrays a very small minority of experience. You were describing this experience, and which is I would say sauna is a very experiential science. So it all starts with experience, like you described very well. And I do believe that what is portrayed as Finnish sauna is the experience of a small minority, because vocal, and very also powerful minority. They have because sauna was and is, but especially was, like everybody's practice. So I think also that most people, especially who like soft home sauna, they haven't felt that this is something that we should be bringing into a discussion or start, advertising or making strong cases. So in the Finnish sauna scene, there are some, of course, powerful vocal and strong leader type of persons who have taken that, and it has now expanded into the common idea of the Finnish sauna. And I do feel that it still doesn't give a very, how would I say, realistic experience of Finns as a whole.
Yeah, of course. There's like I think it's a practice for 3 million people, so it's hard to distill.
Yeah, and because I have noticed myself that now the younger generations of Finland, okay, maybe ours, the one before, have isolated themselves from the sauna. There are more and more Finns that I come across, and they say, no, I don't bathe in sauna regularly.
Really? Okay,
yes.
that's a news for me as well.
Yes.
Because I've noticed a different trend.
For me, it seems now coming back. But like when, let's say, during my lifetime, I have actually come across with many people who who say that I don't really enjoy sauna so much.
Yeah,
it's not really my thing.
Yeah,
I don't go I myself was one of those. It's not really my thing. And I do think that because what Finnish sauna represents is the experience of minority, loud minority. So Finns themselves don't feel connected to this concept. Like, at least this is my experience, that I have spoken with many people who share this idea.
Yeah, but certainly changing. I think in the future we will look back at those times when it was just a technical practice, and many people are now looking for sort of something meaningful to do regularly.
And it has been a very short, if you look at the whole
10,000 years.
10,000 years of sauna bathing, and maybe now 50, 70 years of some technical practice. It's like you don't even consider it. It's just some small minor side fling. So nothing that way alarming, but still I feel that it's important to talk about this, because more I speak with people from different parts of the world, I am saddened that Finnish sauna is portrayed as hot and dry, and löyly is, how would I say, not the most important thing. Even that it is hot and dry, and löyly maybe, but not so important.
Well, this has certainly been sort of a trauma releasing
Yes.
episode for us as well, because this has been,
Yeah.
as I said, many things don't insult me, but this really insults me.
Yes.
So it's absolutely not
No.
the case.
No, and that's
Yeah.
why I always want to talk about this. Finnish sauna is about löyly.
Yeah.
It's löyly is like life itself, always changing, always different types in different parts of your sauna bathing, different times of the year, and especially for a woman, different times of your cycle. Löyly is so different. So
Yes.
and your needs are so different. So. Löyly is not fixed. It's not something you can measure and have the optimal always.
Yeah.
It's ever changing, but Finnish sauna is about löyly.
Yes. That's actually the perfect way to end this episode, because yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Again, we sometimes want to take a more critical tone, because also, of course, that's why how we learn when we look at critically some of the practices that we have, and also that we have a certain kind of perspective on sauna. And in the future episodes, we will most definitely take aspect by aspect. We want to really spend a lot of time discovering these most important concepts relating to löyly and to sauna in general. And of course, again, if you're enjoying these episodes, so you can just hit the subscribe button in YouTube or follow us in Spotify, and as said before, call us or send us an email. And if you, and of course, if you want to come here and visit us, then of course we will organize a very nice session here at the Smoke Sauna.
Yeah.
But kiitos, Laura.
Kiitos, Otto.
So
thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everybody again, and see you in the next episode.